Sound of chainsaws and the sight of falling trees is generally unwelcome to climate campaigners, especially in the tropics. So why are conservationists working hand in hand with loggers in the forests of Borneo in Indonesia?
Sekarang saya berada di lokasi pertama dari kegiatan logging.
Now I'm at the site of the first activity of logging, which is felling. The tree is going to be felled to that direction where there is no tree standing over there, and also toward the skidding trail.
Whatever you're imagining when you think of logging, this isn't it. Despite all the noise and machinery, this forest in Borneo is bustling with wildlife.
Dari sini juga saya melihat dua sarang orangutan di atas.
From here, I sang two orangutan nests on the top of the tree, and hearing the sound of gibbons and hornbill. On the way here, I also saw mouse deer and civet crossing logging road.
Orangutans, gibbons, civet, cats and deer. This logged forest is still good for wildlife, and it's also cutting the industry's carbon emissions. What's being trialled here is a system known as reduced impact logging for climate, or RILC. The man behind it is forester and forest scientist Peter Ellis.
I actually was a Peace Corps volunteer in the country of Gabon when I was in my 20s. And I remember the moment I stood out in that amazing, incredibly biodiverse forest with the sound of the animals and birds around me, and knew I wanted to pursue a career in forestry because I felt so passionate about preserving these amazing places on Earth. And I knew that in order to do that, we needed to make sure that we were reducing the impact on these forests as much as possible.
From the forests of Central Africa, Peter became Global Director of Climate Science for America's Nature Conservancy Organization. The jungles of the tropics are vast stores of carbon being eroded by deforestation, but Peter is convinced that the answer lies not in banning any exploitation of these forests. Simply, logging has to be done better.
I think it's really important for people to understand that loggers need to be our allies in this fight against climate change and protecting our environment. In many cases, if the logging industry went away in some of these remote tropical forests, the alternative would be, and already is becoming, much more destructive forms of land use, like oil palm, that replaces those sustainably logged forests with a desert of one species where no orangutans can live, and there is very little biodiversity and much lower carbon.
And there's the important point that we need wood to build with, and building with wood is better in terms of carbon dioxide emissions than concrete and steel.
Wood is good, and the only way to get it is through logging. So if we want to have that full impact of all of the forms of climate solutions we could use, we need more wood to replace cement and steel and other higher carbon footprint materials.
Tropical logging isn't clear felling like you might see in the pine plantations of the Highlands of Scotland. Loggers go in and select the wild-grown trees that customers want.
In tropical forests, when a logger goes out to collect timber, they're actually only taking out a small number of trees, a few trees per hectare. So about 15% of the biomass of any given forest is harvested during the process of extracting that wood. So it looks like a forest right after they've done the logging. And if done well, it can maintain a lot of the biodiversity, water quality, benefits that we see in these amazing tropical forests as the lungs of our planet.
So as you say, it can be done well or badly,
yeah.
And that's where you come in?
Since you are going into a forest and only taking certain trees, you have to use heavy equipment. These are big trees. Sometimes there's 2 meters in diameter that you need to get out. So in order to do that, there's often a lot of what we call collateral damage that occurs in the process of getting that wood out, from the road construction to equipment that drags it out of the forest, to even the felling of the tree itself, which is big enough to cause a lot of damage to other trees around it. So on average, in tropical forests, if you look at, let's say, 1 log's worth of timber that you get out, about 6 times that amount is actually damaged in the process of getting that.